Thank you for tuning in to another episode of the Football Guys Best Ball Show. I'm your host, Dave Kluge, and as always, I am joined with James Brimacombe. James, this is the first show that we have done together since we finally had the pleasure of meeting each other in person just a few weeks ago in Canton. How have you been?
Yeah, it's been good. Yeah, I've been slackers the last few weeks, just recovering, I guess.
Yeah. Did you get a chance to max out the Pomeranian 3 yet? Looks like that one filled up just as well. Not filled up yet. It looks like there is still some. Or nope. Looking right now, it looks like that one did fill. I filled it up yesterday morning. How are you doing on that one?
Yeah, I did that one yesterday. Like 15 drafts now seems like something you can do in one day almost.
Yep. And I mean, when you got the zero rake, you got to how can you not max out something that's got a 0% rake? I mean, it's they just make it pretty easy for us. But with that being me maxing that out and you maxing that out, I think we're gonna go back to Best Ball Mania 2 today. I think we got a fun little trick up our sleeve here. So let me go ahead and share my screen, and we will hop in there and see how long it takes to fill. So your strategy right now, are you hitting these a little bit heavier now than you were, or are you going a little bit lighter on them? I mean, how many drafts are you doing a day? It seemed like you were doing about one a day, right?
So yeah, I was doing one a day, but actually since the expo there, I think I did like 6 or 7 at the expo and just kind of over that weekend. And I actually haven't touched this tournament since then. And I think I'm just going to wait after the NFL cuts and everything like that and depth charts sprinkle in. I think I'm like at 84 of them, and yeah, I'll make a decision probably like in a week how I want to go for the rest of them, or if I only want to go to 100 or whatever. So that's kind of where I'm at with this tournament.
Yeah, and I'm not sure if I'm going to be maxing it out either. I think right now I'm at 25 entries, and that's about where I'm pretty comfortable. All of the puppies and all of the my computer's slowing down a little bit here. I'm trying to max out all the puppies and the Pomeranians and the smaller ones, but I don't know if I'll be maxing out Best Ball Mania 3, but they are certainly fun to do on the show. So this one's filling up right now. We're waiting on one more person, and here we are. Still hoping for that top 5 spot, right? Has anything changed for you there?
Yeah, or if we don't get that, I'd rather just be right at the turn at 12. So yeah, that's kind of how I play it. So yeah, number 1, there you go.
All right. Well, do you have a firm take on the Jonathan Taylor, Christian McCaffrey? Because that seems to be a hot topic right now. I have been going with Christian McCaffrey for a couple of months now. Do you have a strong take either way?
Just the way my ownership, I'm just going Taylor, just because I had McCaffrey at 2, and sometimes I'd give him 3, 4, 5, like in the off season. So I already have like pretty good ownership on him. So I'm okay just trying to level both of those players out right now in my portfolio. That's kind of how I'm attacking it. I think you're fine either way, so I don't think it matters.
I saw Sigmund Bloom just tweeted out something pretty interesting. He said that Alvin Cook had more points per game last year than Jonathan Taylor, and I think the big thing that really boosted Jonathan Taylor was the volume and the touchdown rate. But man, chasing that ceiling is really tough not to take Christian McCaffrey here.
Let's go. This is your account, so you click that button.
Let's go CMC here. I feel like the one thing I don't want to get trapped into though is I feel like every time I take CMC, I end up with Fournette. That's a guy that I've been targeting pretty heavily at the 2-3 turn. He keeps sliding there, and just for the sake of trying to change things up a little bit, we'll try to pass on Fournette here because it seems like every build I have with McCaffrey has Fournette later on in the draft.
The only thing I have with McCaffrey is I just think, yeah, if it's full point PPR, he's 100% 101. But just with him not being the full point PPR on Underdog, that's why I'm just like, I'm going to keep putting Taylor ahead of him. And obviously just to level up my ownership too. So that's my case for Taylor still at 101.
So who are the guys right now that you're typically targeting at the 2-3 turn? Do you have anybody specific that's been jumping out to you? Or I know Kamara was a guy that you and I were both targeting pretty heavily there. Mm-hmm. Now you typically see him going 13th, 14th, 15th overall. He might be creeping up into the first round if we get a final word that he is not going to be suspended.
Yeah, it's a hard spot because I feel like a lot of your builds are going to be the same when you get the 101 or 102. Like whoever slides to you at second and third, it's usually the same kind of players. So yeah, I don't know. It depends who's here. Depends what way we want to go. But yeah, a lot of times it would be always like Nick Chubb or Javonte Williams. Those are always my go-to, or receivers. I'd AJ Brown and Tyreek Hill kind of always seem to be there as well. So
Yeah. T. Higgins, is that a guy that you're thinking about at 2-3? I mean, I see we got Higgins in the draft right here. I know that's actually T. Higgins, but is that somebody that you're taking that early, or do you typically like to wait a little bit later, maybe into like the middle of the third?
Yeah, I think he's a great spot there. I think that's where you have to take him if you want him, and he's one of my higher owned receivers, so I've obviously been taking him. But yeah, sometimes like Mike Evans is there as well, so you have to make a decision between those receivers. But I'm Higgins over like Pittman and Keenan Allen and Mike Williams, so I like Higgins. It's kind of like that tier break for me.
Now, it seems like ADP is getting a little bit sharper right now. We kind of had our guys that we were really targeting heavily in the later rounds, and guys like Nico Collins, who is a favorite 18th round pick of both of ours. You got to pay up for him now in the 13th, 14th round.
Right.
And guys like Allen Lazard, who I was beating the drum for early in the offseason, now he's going in the late 60s and early 70s as opposed to the 110s. So, you can make a strong argument either way, who you would or when you'd prefer to draft. But do you think there's more of an advantage drafting a little bit earlier in the season, or do you think it's better this time of year as ADP sharpens up a little bit to be drafting?
So I'm back and forth on this question. I kind of just experienced looking at my numbers, looking at past tournaments, not just NFL, but any kind of best ball sport. It's always the closer to the season starts, the better my teams are. So even as ADP is sharper, like I still think there's an edge there for you to build really, really well constructed teams. And you're probably going to take a lot less zeros as well with the guys you're taking. You're going to know a lot more information. So, yeah, you're missing out on a lot of values, but you're also avoiding a lot of bad picks too. So I think it kind of just evens out. My answer is, just keep drafting kind of every day.
Yeah, and I go back and look at some of my old drafts, and for every great deal there is on. Well, let's talk through this, and then we'll get back. So Mike Evans, I mean, that's he's been sliding quite a bit. He was going to the 1-2 turn not too long ago. Still not crazy about him, but I feel like there is as a wide receiver one, I really like him. I already said I kind of wanted to avoid Leonard Fournette. Let's do Mike Williams for sure because I like that value. Who's the other guy that you'd like to take here? I like all of these receivers.
Yeah,
AJ Brown, T. Higgins, Kyle.
I've been off AJ Brown for a little bit, but I'm back on him again. So I've been kind of like shifting him with Devontae Smith a little bit. So I'm back off of Smith a little bit and trying to get more AJ Brown. That's kind of how I'm going. But that's more of like, I think they're all fine. Like Tyreek's awesome play here too. So
yeah. Let's go with AJ Brown just because he's a guy that I've really liked all off season, and his ADP hasn't really changed too much. He's kind of been locked in at this 2-3 turn all off season. Kyle Pitts is a guy that stands out to me here though. It seems like it wasn't that long ago that Kyle Pitts was getting drafted in the 4th or 5th round, and now all of a sudden, here he is. Oops, lost that one.
You actually have to physically put in your picks now, or it's going to put you to auto draft. So I think you're on auto draft right now.
Yeah, I'll flip the auto draft off. But Kyle Pitts is a guy. Are you still in on him at cost, going at 30th overall? Because, like I said, it seems like it was just a couple months ago that we were able to get him the 4th, 5th round.
I think he's going to be a 2nd round pick here. And people love him every year, same as last year, and he's just going to get more love here and just seeing what he can do. And what a lot of people are saying, well, he's basically the cheat code at the tight end position because he is a receiver. So yeah, the days of getting him 4th, 5th, that's not going to happen anymore. Like you'll be lucky to get him in the 3rd, I think, over the next week.
Now I want to take a look at the draft board here because I've also noticed that Mark Andrews has been sliding quite a bit, and those guys are really tightening up in ADP. You see it right here. Mark Andrews at 23, Kyle Pitts at 28. Do you think we see those ADPs flip-flop somehow before week 1, or do you think Mark Andrews stays pretty firmly as the tight end 3?
I think they'll be side by side, but I'm still taking Andrews over Pitts. But yeah, I don't mind actually if you want to take both of them at the turn there instead of taking Mike Evans, AJ Brown. We take both of them. Yeah. It's kind of an interesting the bully tight end strategy you could do too.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, if Andrews slides there. Yeah. And then, we don't talk too much about, week 17 correlation here, but we did get that with Christian McCaffrey and Mike Evans. So maybe that's something that we lean into a little bit here and really try to stack that game up. I don't want to give away everybody that we're targeting here, but we can try to get Chris Godwin, who is looking every single day, just getting better and better reports out of camp about Chris Godwin. So I think we can try to lean into that a little bit. DJ Moore already off the board, so we're not going to be able to get him. He just went there. But looking a little bit ahead here, we're still about a full round out. And I like these when you're kind of at the turn, because there's a lot of the same guys that you're looking at in a lot of these drafts. So who are some guys you're typically targeting at that 4-5 turn? I know for me personally, Deontay Johnson's a guy that jumps out to me. Allen Robinson, the days of getting him at the 4-5 turn are long gone. I don't think he'll be making it back there. Juju Smith-Schuster, though, that's a guy that you have been talking about quite a bit on this show. Have your feelings changed on him much since camps have opened up?
I still think he is one of the key pieces for a player that you might have to have at the end when it's all said and done, kind of like the Cooper Kupp we've talked about. So I like him always at the 5th round. He is always one of my high targets. I think the 4-5, it's always receivers almost is kind of how I play these rounds.
Yeah, I've seen Cam Akers slide there a little bit. I'm not crazy on Cam Akers, but that's a value that I'll typically take him if he does slide into that 4-5 turn.
He's been actually on in the 6th round now too. It's crazy. He's going to keep sliding, I think.
Yeah, I don't know if you saw my draft that I shared the other day, but I mean, just the grossest running back core. But it was Travis Etienne, Cam Akers, and Antonio Gibson, and they just kept sliding down draft boards to the point where I couldn't pass on him. I got Cam Akers in the 6th round. I got Antonio Gibson at pick 108, I think it was. I mean, something crazy. And you called that out when I said Antonio Gibson's a great pick right now in the 80 to 90 range. You said just wait it out because he's going to slip into the hundreds, and that's exactly where he is going now.
Yeah, I think I got him 131 the other day, which is people just 131. That's pretty hilarious. Yeah.
So Breece Hall, we were getting some negative reports about him. I'm sure you saw it, 4 carries for 1 yard the other day, and people are just overreacting like crazy about that. Are you getting concerned about Breece Hall, or do you think that his ADP is still kind of fair here?
Yeah, I like him still. I think it's I don't read too much into preseason games, so yeah. I'm not I don't shift players too much. It's nice to see the Isaiah Likely and things like that, but
right.
Maybe I'll put him on my draft board, but I'm not gonna all of a sudden drop Andrews a round or two just because some dude had a crazy couple games in preseason.
We're on the clock here. Jerry Judy is a guy that I like, and we're getting him a little bit under ADP. Wasn't crazy about Jerry Judy, but after Tim Patrick went down, there wasn't really a change in Judy's ADP. I expected him to skyrocket, and he stayed, pretty much where he was. So I like taking Judy here. Who are the other guys that you like? Brandon Cooks, definitely a floor play. I
like Deontay Johnson better. I like Bateman better. You could do Godwin here too if you want to do the double stack.
Let's do that. Yeah, because he's definitely not making it back to us. A little bit of a reach there, but I like stacking up Tampa Bay. Tom Brady's going to throw it 550, 600 times this year. Why not go after both of them? So here we are, just leaning heavily into the hero running back here. And once we start looking ahead at these next picks, that's when running backs start to thin out pretty quickly, and you're looking pretty gross with some of these running backs. So, if any of these 3 slip, I think we got to take them: A.J. Dillon, David Montgomery, or Elijah Mitchell. What is our pick number? I should know this off the top of my head, but I don't. 72. So, if we're getting any of these guys, we're getting them pretty far under ADP. After that, though, the next running back on the board is Josh Jacobs.
Yeah, see, I think Jacobs with the news for Drake, I think Jacobs is actually should be bumped up a little bit.
I might even prefer Josh Jacobs over Elijah Mitchell. Is that crazy?
No, I think that's about where I'm at too. So Mitchell's just kind of still banged up, right? And I think they're fine. And I think Jacobs is a good best ball player to draft, especially when you get him 6th, 7th, 8th round. Over the last little bit, you've been getting them. So I don't dead zone running back, whatever. I still like them.
Yeah, and I think what's kind of happened is, we've had it beaten into our heads year after year after year to avoid the running back dead zone. So now these running back dead zone guys, who we have queued up right now, A.J. Dillon, David Montgomery, Josh Jacobs, Elijah Mitchell, typically those would have been, 4th round picks in a normal year. But now people have pushed these running back dead zone guys so far down draft boards that when you're getting them in the 6th, 7th round, it doesn't. There isn't nearly as much risk there because you're taking this guy as an RB2 when you've already got 4 very capable wide receivers. I feel like this is when you should be taking guys like that.
Yeah, and just like the same with Montgomery, right? Montgomery Jacobs, like people don't want to touch him right now, but we would rather take AJ Dillon over him, or we would rather take Tony Pollard. Like it's kind of crazy when you think of it that way. Just I get like these guys are coming to an end here soon, but they still look like the number one guy there until they actually break down. Like I don't know. Like yeah, we want the breakout, we want that Pollard breakout, we want that Dillon breakout, but we might be kind of jumping the gun.
And you said it with David Montgomery. You even said, well, there he goes. Somebody took him a little bit ahead of ADP. People are talking about how like the end is near for David Montgomery. This kid is still just 25 years old. And don't get me wrong, Khalil Herbert's good. And you and I have both been beating the drum for Khalil Herbert all offseason. But, what happens if David Montgomery just maintains his role and everybody's passing on him because of the fears that he might be in a committee? But what happens if you're getting the guy who has been a bell cow for the last 3 years? What if he's a bell cow again this year and you're getting a guy who's going to see, 200 carries and 50 to 60 targets in the 6th round? That could be a game changer there. I feel like we just parrot the same narratives all off season long to the point that some of these guys just end up becoming incredible values.
No, I agree on that. And I think even last year people were down on him. And I think he was a really, really solid best ball player for your team. And he didn't cost you too much in the end. So people don't want players on bad teams either. So that plays into it as well.
I'm kind of shocked to see this. Trey Lance is off the board. I'm not seeing Jalen Hurts anywhere. So I think Jalen Hurts was drafted as well.
Mm-hmm.
Did he go a while back? Yeah, there goes Jalen Hurts. There's Trey Lance. Kyler Murray. Both of these guys being drafted ahead of Kyler Murray. That seems a bit odd to me. I mean, Kyler Murray is a guy that I've been targeting pretty heavily, a top 5 in exposure for me. There he finally goes at 68. I mean, that's a great deal for whoever got him.
I think he's harder to kind of stack too. So I see Hurts go more than him just because AJ Brown and Goddard and Devontae Smith. Like he's easier to stack. Trey Lance, Ayuk, and Debo and Kittle. Like there's more options for them. So that's why I've been seeing Kyler kind of fall. And I like what we did here too. We went like you look at our receivers; they're all have good quarterbacks around them. So I think when we're talking about that 2-3 turn and the 4-5 turn, where you want to, we can make our picks here. Go ahead.
Yeah, so we got Elijah Mitchell. That was one of the running backs that we were hoping for, and he slid to us. And then we got some other guys here: Adam Thielen, Amari Cooper, DeAndre Hopkins. Devonta Smith is the one that jumps out to me, and this is kind of crazy because
that's kind of fun. Yeah, fun double stack without the quarterbacks. I'm cool with that too.
Cool, I love it. Yeah, I mean, I think that we talk about this a lot, but I think that the Eagles are just going to be throwing much more this year. They invested 1st-round picks and $100 million in AJ Brown, and they've got the draft capital next year where if they decide Hurts isn't the guy, they could always pivot off of Hurts and bring in another quarterback, but it seems like they're going to be throwing quite a bit this year. So I've invested heavily into the Philadelphia Eagles passing game.
Yeah, and a lot of times that wasn't why I was taking AJ Brown, because I knew I could get Smith, and a lot of times I'd get Goddard too, because I felt like they were kind of pretty good values where they were going. So a lot of times I'd pass on AJ Brown because I knew I'd probably get one Eagles down the line. So, but that's kind of why I went back to AJ Brown. Just, I don't know, it's kind of flip flopping on those.
I mean, it's one of those, why not both? I don't think you need to choose one or the other. I think AJ Brown and Devonta Smith can both be great values. AJ Brown facilitates that role as the alpha wide receiver 1. We know that he's just an efficiency monster, what he can do after the catch, his contested catch abilities. But then Devonta Smith, we talk about this. I feel like we've drafted Devonta Smith in quite a few shows that we've done so far. But, I mean, this guy put up great numbers as a rookie, playing as a wide receiver 1. Now he's going to be seeing softer coverage against cornerbacks while the defense's attention is focused on A.J. Brown. I mean, it seems like people are pushing Devonta Smith down the draft board for concerns about Jalen Hurts and, what type of offense he could support. But, I mean, Devonta Smith, are we expecting any less than 90 to 100 targets next year? I mean, that seems like his baseline at this point.
Yeah, and just the way our build went too. And like if you're getting him as your 4th, 5th receiver, like it's hard to pass up on.
Yeah, so let me scroll down a little bit so everyone can take a look at this. Again, leaning into the hero RB with Christian McCaffrey, and then just stacking up Tampa Bay and Philly without the quarterbacks. But that's kind of fun. If you think that these are going to be explosive offenses, why not just buy heavily into the receivers there?
Yeah, no, I like that. I'm getting more. Yeah, I want to stack. I want to learn. I want to lean into that, but sometimes it doesn't work out. So I don't think it's the worst to stack players on an offense either without the quarterback. And we have lots of shots to get quarterbacks here too. So we're not even through a draft.
Yeah. Looks like Skye Moore has passed Marquez Valdez-Scantling up by almost half a round, and there he goes off the board ahead of ADP again. Skye Moore is just shooting up draft boards, and I know Juju's a guy that you've been liking a little bit, but I find myself drafting more and more of Skye Moore now, even ahead of MVS. I think that he's just my favorite guy to target there, just because of the cost and the upside. You don't have to pay up for him like Juju Smith-Schuster, but I feel like his ceiling is just as high.
Well, I felt like Skye Moore was like a 7th, 8th round pick there for a while, but then people got off of him. He dropped to like 10th, 11th round, I've even seen, and that's when I started buying him. Yep. But yeah, now I'm back off him again, so it's kind of interesting. You just ride those waves. So I just have a hard time him going like early 8th round. To me, it's just I get it though. I get it for tournaments, especially for like that rookie breakout, and then hopefully, even if he gets off to a slow start, you're hoping for a good finish to the second half of the season.
Mm-hmm. Now, who is I kind of like these running backs here. I feel like this is when you get out of the dead zone, and now you're just looking at the upside guys. There were Rashad Penny, Antonio Gibson actually going at 89. That's kind of crazy to see in this economy. Dameon Pierce going at 804. That seems like a great value as well. I've seen him going a little bit earlier than that recently. Ramondre Stevenson already off the board. But we still got Kareem Hunt. We still got Damian Harris. We still got James Cook, Devin Singletary. These are the guys that I really like. I feel like we're out of the dead zone at this point, and now we're looking for upside. I like all of these running backs pretty much. Are there any guys here that you are actively avoiding? Kareem Hunt, Damian Harris, James Cook, Devin Singletary?
I'm kind of unsure about the Bills right now, so I've been kind of off of them. But yeah, I really like Damian Harris. He's kind of, I just think he's like a best ball running back that I want on my squad, especially for the price you have to pay on him.
Oh, and there he goes. We just got nabbed on Damian Harris.
But I also don't hate going both Buffalo running backs. But the problem with that, I think like Zach Moss is getting steamed up, so we just don't know about that.
James, I know we went into this with a plan where we said we were going to fade quarterbacks, but we've got Mike Evans, we've got Chris Godwin, and here is Tom Brady around under.
Probably got to take Brady.
We have to. Yeah. I mean, blows up the plan that we had before the show a little bit, but you can't pass that up. I mean, we already got the double stacked wide receivers there.
So we got him. We got him like round after ADP, right? And I think that's kind of like a little lesson right there. You take both the pass catchers.
Nobody's going to want a quarterback.
No one's going to want a quarterback.
Right. Nobody wants to draft Brady.
I think you can gamble a little bit more when you do that. Like, I don't know what other examples. I think I've done it with Vegas before too. You get like Adams and Renfro, and you can.
And then nobody wants Carr. Exactly. Yeah. So before the show, James and I had talked, and our plan today, we thought it would be fun. We've been doing where we start off our draft with 12 straight running backs and wide receivers, and then we just close out the draft with 3 tight ends. So you end up doing 3-3 build with your quarterbacks and tight ends at the end of the draft. And it's made for some pretty fun builds. And that was the intention for today's show, is we were going to do that. But sometimes you just got to play the board a little bit. And if you got Evans and Godwin and Brady sliding that far, you just got to pound. So threw a little wrench in our plan, but you got to be adaptive.
Well, I think also that's a good lesson. So like our first 8 picks, all running backs, receivers, like you can build a solid team if you just start off eight at those key positions, and then you can build out the rest of your team. So I think kind of shows you that. I know a lot of times, I know you mentioned the 12. Let's do 12 running backs, receivers. I've done that in the offseason where I was doing first 10 picks. I would do that because then I could still kind of get like some of those low end top QB1s or the QB2 level, like right at that tier. So you could still get like the Cousins or the Aaron Rodgers, and you could still make some stacks too. So,
right.
I think it builds out a nice lineup for you and a good core of players.
Yeah. And I feel like, sometimes the teams look sexy when you got a Josh Allen or a Lamar Jackson, Mark Andrews and things like that. But there's so much value that you can get at QB and tight end late in the draft that I'd rather get not that anything is a sure thing in fantasy football, but pay up for those running backs and wide receivers. We need to start multiples every single week. Pay up for them early and build some depth there. Now, speaking of depth, looking at the running backs right now, obviously Christian McCaffrey, we took him first overall. We both have some confidence in him. Elijah Mitchell, Kareem Hunt, both kind of shaky guys to have as an RB2, RB3.
Mhm.
Looking at the running backs we have right now, how many running backs do you think we should finish this draft with? 5, 6, maybe at a 7th? How deep do you want to go with running backs here?
Probably if your next pick of the turn, if it's 2 running backs, and then you're done, right? But if there's one that you like there, and then you can think about 5 or 6 too. It's hard. Every couple of rounds it's different. It changes. Your mindset changes how you want to build out your team, and I think that's a good thing. Like, that means you've drafted a bunch of teams. You kind of are aware of what could happen, and you kind of just go with it. Especially on a 30-second clock, if you're quick like this and make those quick decisions, it goes a long way.
Yeah. Now the running backs we'd be targeting here, I mean, I'd love Rachaad White. He just fits right in with what we're doing with Tampa Bay. Might be a little bit too heavy on the stack there. Daryl Henderson's another guy that I don't want to say I was completely off on, but he was just, I drafted him at cost, but I've really been warming up to him lately as we're getting, some quotes from Sean McVay about wanting to, keep him heavily involved. I just don't know if Akers is going to be the 30 touch a guy running back that we had hoped he was last offseason. It seems like it's going to be a little bit more of a split. I mean, at the worst, maybe a hot hand approach, but these are the running backs that I just love, man. I might even, I might even move Gainwell up a little bit, since we're already pretty invested in Philly, just keep that going as well. Rachaad White, Gainwell.
It's all Philly Tampa team here.
Exactly. Hey, if you're gonna believe in the offenses, why not just completely believe in them? But Nahim Heinz is another guy that I just can't get enough of. I feel like we talk about this a lot on the show, but Frank Reich, or not Frank Reich, drawing a blank, the head coach, he said that, he advised, he said, go out and draft Nahim Heinz on your fantasy teams. He's going to be heavily involved. Carson Wentz didn't check down at all. That's what Matt Ryan is known for. So really love Nahim Heinz there. I like all the running backs in this tier, if I'm being honest. This is typically where I'm pounding running backs pretty heavily in these mid rounds. If I'm going 0 RB, hero RB, even if I've got 2 early, I'll take a few here.
Well, you could also go Russell Gage here. Russell Gage triple stack with Brady.
It might be let's see.
I've actually been buying in Russell Gage right now, just at his price. I think it's the time to buy him.
Yeah, because he was going in the 60s or 70s before the Julio Jones signing, and now he is really, really sliding down. And I mean, Julio Jones is still on the board too. Yeah, it seems like we have just cornered it. I mean, with the way people are fading Tampa Bay.
I don't even include Julio Jones in any. I didn't even think about him, to be honest.
No, I have not been too heavy into Julio Jones as well.
I think it's running back. That's the way I'm playing this.
Yeah,
or you could do Komet's gun. I was gonna say the Komet Field stack on a turn is always fun, but
I do that one quite a bit. Let's go Rachaad White for sure. Out of these other running backs, I mean, we've already got AJ Brown and Devonta, so we could definitely go Gainwell here and really lean into it. But I love Daryl Henderson and Nahim Heinz. You make this pick. Who do you like?
I think Heinz is a fun one here.
Yeah,
it gives you the option with Matt Ryan later too.
And it's half PPR, so it's not full PPR where Heinz is going to have the most value, but still.
I think he's the second receiving, like after Pittman. He's probably the next in line. So
really, there's
I think he's well worth it.
Alec Pierce has showed some flashes in camp, but there have also been some downsides with Alec Pierce in camp, things that he isn't picking up. And outside of that, I mean, you're just banking on guys who have never been healthy. I mean, Paris Campbell is the other guy there. Ashton Doolin. I mean, you might be right. I don't know if it would shock me all that much if Nahim Heinz ends up being number 2 in targets for Indianapolis this year.
Yeah, I think we're good on running back now. I mean, at 18th round, you could just pick somebody like D'Ernest Johnson just to kind of cover your Kareem Hunt if you wanted something like that. Yep. But I think you're good on running back. We could do a few more receivers, look for a few more stacks now.
Yeah. So let's just go through this real quickly. We got Tom Brady at quarterback, Christian McCaffrey, Elijah Mitchell, Kareem Hunt, Rachaad White, and Nahim Heinz at running back. Even kind of taking, almost all these running backs in or just after the dead zone. I'm pretty happy with that. That's what you want these hero RB builds to look like. So I'm happy with that. And then obviously just loaded at wide receiver, Mike Evans, AJ Brown, Jerry Judy, Chris Godwin, Devonta Smith, can't be upset about that whatsoever.
Yeah, there's always those debates. Should you take two receivers, same team, right? Like you're paying a lot. You kind of want to have equity in all these different kind of players and on different teams. But like even with that, like Evans and Godwin, and then Brown and Smith, if one of them goes down, like that top guy's even going to get elevated even further. So you're kind of set. It's like you have a nice floor, but also like crazy ceiling, especially with the Brady stack on top of it. Like no matter which one goes off in Tampa Bay, you're going to be covered.
And what happens if, against Carolina in week 17, a soft defense, who's to say Tom Brady can't throw for, 550 yards and 6 touchdowns, and Chris Godwin and Mike Evans each have huge games? It's not something you're banking on, but it is within the realm of possibility. So, I don't mind that at all. I mean, typically if I'm stacking two quarterbacks on the same team, I like to have two guys that are a little bit later. But we got Godwin at a good price. We got Brady around below ADP. I feel like it's just a no-brainer with where these guys were falling.
Yeah. And I think last year in the playoffs, wasn't in the playoff weeks, like 1 week Chase went like crazy off. Then the next week you needed Higgins, and I think Boyd was in the mix too. So I think if you're playing tournaments strategy, like you're good taking two. And even if you do invest more, like it's hard to do, but maybe it pushes you 1 week, and then the next week, whoever had the opposite receiver, the leverage is going to be so much higher because they're all going to drop out. So like if Chase doesn't do anything, a lot of Chase teams are going to die. But if you have both and Higgins goes off, then the next week, there's a lot less Chase out there, and he's the guy that hits, then you're good that way too.
That's a great point. We always talk about week 17 correlation, but you got to get to week 17 first. And it is nice to have those both of those options. And here we are, man. We talked about Russell Gage. I almost don't even want to say it. I don't want to jinx us, but my goodness, there he goes off the board. It's about time. Ahan, who is in the chat right now, just sniped us on Russell Gage. I'll send him a strongly worded DM after this one. So who are the other guys that are jumping out to you here? We had a few guys queued up that all just went off the board. Some wide receivers that I liked: Nico Collins, Jahan Dotson, Russell Gage. Love those guys. All three of them back to back off the board. I am not in on McCole Hart. Let's just look at wide receivers here, because not really in on any of these quarterbacks or tight ends. I mean, so KJ
Osborne, Jacoby Meyers, probably. Maybe you do a Christian Watson.
I mean, also, we've got, I don't want to keep stacking up all these receivers. I was looking at KJ Hamler there.
You can look at tight end maybe too.
Jarvis Landry, with if we're looking at week 17, he doesn't. I don't think it's too early to pull the trigger on Jarvis Landry here, because AJ Brown, Devonta Smith, they play against the Saints week 17. Might be a little bit of a reach, but we're getting him a little ahead of ADP. But I'm just not too crazy about any of these other guys here. We've already got Judy, so I don't want to have our third double stacked receiver here. Not crazy on Watson, Galladay. For me, it's Jarvis Landry, Jacoby Meyers. Who do you like?
Yeah, I've been buying in on Myers, to be honest, because I like. We've went over this a lot, that I like Mac Jones. So Mac, it kind of allows you to have the opportunity to have a Mac Jones stack here later too. So it doesn't force you into it, but it gives you the option. And I've been trying to do that a lot more too. Just like in these rounds right here, look for players that maybe I could stack with a quarterback. Yeah, that might fall a little bit, and I just think Mac Jones is a nice play. And the reason I like Christian Watson there too was just the way our wide receiver room is already built. Like I think Watson might be the better second half ceiling type of player over like a Jacoby Meyers. Jacoby Meyers is going to be that floor kind of player, but we don't really need that either. So I don't know.
Got a Han in the chat saying that he had Russell Gage queued up last round. And I will say, I've been following Han on Twitter for a little while. He does like Russell Gage, so he wasn't just pulling that one out of nowhere. But
see the thing I think with Russell Gage too, like everyone's just like, oh, Chris Godwin's back. We've heard like two people say that, like
Julio Jones is there.
Well, no, they're just saying Godwin's good to go, but do we really know that? Like, I don't know. Like, what if there's one bad kind of like report on Godwin right now? Then Gage is gonna jump like 2-3 rounds again. Like, it's I think we're just like buying Godwin just maybe a little too early, but you kind of have to. So
And I think with Godwin, it's just the hope that he will be fully healthy for the end of the season, and that you've got that. We talk
yeah,
about the hammer at the end of the season a lot. That's kind of what you're hoping when you're drafting Chris Godwin, because if he wasn't coming off the ACL tear, if he had a clean bill of health right now, we got him at pick 49. He's probably going in the late 20s, early 30s if he's got a fully clean bill of health.
yep, that is correct. And
Landry,
I do like Landry, but I've just been so heavily on him, and then just Michael Thomas, and so I've actually only been drafting like Olave right now in New Orleans. Like that's my go-to guy now.
Yeah, I like Olave a lot. Just taking a look here, though. So we've got the 14th, 15th, 16th, 17th, 18th round. We have 5 picks left. And right now we have 1 quarterback and no tight ends. I think from here on out, we just have to finish up with quarterbacks and tight ends, right? We got our 5 running backs. We've got our 7 receivers. I'm feeling pretty confident about these running backs and receivers here. McCaffrey, Mitchell, Hunt, White, and Hines. And then wide receiver room of Mike Evans, A.J. Brown, Jerry Judy, Chris Godwin, Devonta Smith, K.J. Osborne, and Jacoby Meyers. So I think we're pretty set there, and we just close us out. Finish the draft with 2 quarterbacks and 3 tight ends, giving us 3 and 3 on each end, right? Or are you pretty confident just going 1 quarterback behind Tom Brady?
I mean, you could like that depends, like how good you feel about these players. Is there risk there with Brady too? Like it's like so much back and forth all off season. I think it's fine. I think he's going to play a full season.
And I think with the last pick, we're definitely going to be looking at tight end. There's no starting quarterback that's really going to slide with the first overall pick. We're going to have the last pick in the 18th round. So, might luck into Davis Mills at the 16-17 turn. But realistically, that 18th round pick, we're probably going to be spending on a Jonnu Smith or a Greg Dulcich or somebody like that.
Yeah, so I mean that's why I went with the Myers. Like Mac Jones could fall to you here. Like Baker, you could still stack Baker later.
Yep. Love Baker with McCaffrey, and we just got word yesterday that he is the official starter, which I don't think there was a ton of question about it, but there was a little bit of uncertainty there. So now with him officially being named the starter, do you think he creeps up? Because right now he is going as the 26th quarterback off the board.
I think he might go up like a round or so, but I don't think. Yeah, people don't really like Baker, so I think he's kind of safe to where he's at. I don't think you need to buy into Baker right now because you're going to get a discount. I think it is what it is with him.
So we got Mac Jones slid to us. Pretty happy about that. How are you feeling about Tunyon? Because I love these two, Hayden Hurst and Evan Ingram. Not as crazy about Tunyon. We'll take Mac Jones.
I was off Tunyon, but yeah, I was off Tunyon, but now I'm kind of back on. Like positive news is coming out, and it sounds like he's going to be ready. Just because I want the touchdowns there, especially if you're going 3 tight ends. Like I think he's good in this format. But I like Hayden Hurst too, so I'd be fine either or.
I feel like Hayden Hurst and Robert Tunyon are just kind of the same player. These aren't guys that are going to be seeing 100, 110 targets or anything like that. But when you're drafting them, it's with the hopes that they are going to somehow stumble into the end zone 8 times, 10 times throughout the season. And I got to say, I just had Pat Fitzmaurice and Nick Whalen on my show last week, and we were talking about some, guys to target in the mid rounds, just going through some different player takes, and both of them were just beating the drum for Robert Tunyon. Expecting a big year from him, and talking specifically about in best ball. And it's not, because you're going to have those games from Robert Tunyon where he's going to have 3 targets and 1 catch for 8 yards and no touchdown, and that sucks, but he's also going to have the games where he has 80 yards and 2 touchdowns. And those are great because you're getting Travis Kelce type production from a guy you drafted in the 14th round.
Yeah. And going back to that New England, I don't know why all of a sudden I'm a New England fan apparently, but I think you got like Jonnu Smith, you got Aguilar there, you got like Kendrick Bourne if you're forced into that. Like there's so many options to stack that Mac Jones. Well, I'm just looking at our tight ends. Like Jonnu could be like our last pick if we go down that far.
Which honestly, I'm still holding on to hope for Jonnu Smith. I might be crazy. I might regret it, but it's an 18th round pick, and I've still been drafting him there. But Jacoby Meyers, there's definitely some uncertainty with how things are going to shake up with Devontae Parker there now. Jacoby Meyers had a 24.4% target share last year. That is top 20 in the NFL among all wide receivers. I mean, this guy was putting up really good usage, and he struggled to find the end zone. I think he had 1 or 2 touchdowns. Was it 2 touchdowns or just the one that he had last year? Whatever it is. I know he's
click
allergic to the
on
end
his
zone.
name.
Yeah, I know he is allergic to the end zone. Let me take a look here.
Oh yeah, you got to pull it up in the search bar. Yeah, and I was on like, I don't know if it was with you or another show was on, but yeah, it was basically like Kendrick Bourne, kind of the same stats of Myers, and you can get him later, but now like Bourne's done nothing in camp apparently, and Aguilar's kind of like the guy that everyone's saying is looking the best there in New England. So yeah, I've been back on Myers a little bit, and he's kind of falling too, so I don't know.
Yeah. Now another one that we're looking at here. I mean, Desean Watson, if he slides, don't hate him here at all in a tournament format. I'd usually take him a little bit earlier. And we talked about this. I really like having the late round buys if you're drafting Desean Watson, Kyler Murray, Aaron Rodgers, those guys that have buys in week 14. And here we'll be looking at, no Desean Watson coming back until week 13. Tom Brady and Mac Jones will each have had their buys by then. But is that a guy you'd be thinking about taking here as a QB3 in this build, or would you want to wait a little bit longer for that?
Yeah, I don't really like him on this build. I don't think I'd take him here. I mean, I would tell you right now, looking at the board, who I'd take, but they both could go.
I think I know who you got an eye on, and I think we're hoping for the same guy here.
Oh yeah.
I mean, this is going to be a pretty gross looking tight end room here. It's going to end up being Robert Tonyan and Logan Thompson, Jonnu Smith, Cameron Braid. Who knows what that tight end room is going to end up looking like? I'm sure you saw, we the first show we ever did was right around the time that Rob Gronkowski retired, and we took Cameron Braid. He has since slid down draft boards a little bit. But did you see the report from or not even a report? It was Joe Bryant was telling us that it looks like Rob Gronkowski is staying retired. So no huge surprise there, but one of his friends said that he is enjoying his retirement. So is it Baker Mayfield? Is that who you were hoping for here?
Yeah, I was gonna go Davis Mills and Brevin Jordan, but they both went. So I like that stack. But yeah, Baker you probably have to take here, I think.
So we got Baker, yeah. Then we got the correlation with Tom Brady, and we got the stack with Christian McCaffrey. So not the sexiest pick, but it kind of works with the build that we've got here. And then that'll do it for quarterbacks. And then we got a double tap tight ends here to finish out this draft here. Taysom Hill, Mo Alley Cox, Isaiah Likely, Logan Thomas is somebody who is just activated off off the pup list and looks like he'll be good to go. Not somebody I have a ton of exposure to, but with him being healthy, we've seen him put up monster numbers 2 years ago. It seems like he's a guy that's just like a camp clip away from really skyrocketing in ADP. But who are the tight ends that are jumping out to you here?
Probably Mo Alley Cox, but same bye week, and then finish with like Jonnu or I don't know. That's kind of
they've all got a week. Oh well, I think we got Otto and Logan. Yeah, I mean, I didn't even think about the bye weeks. But yeah, that makes
I mean, it doesn't really matter because that's so late in the season too. I don't think, but
so now we'll just queue up. I mean, we can't do anyone with a week 14. We got Taysom Hill, Mo Alley. We can't even look at those guys. So it's
I mean, you really could. Sometimes tight end only scores you like 4 or 5 points anyway. So
it's true. We got the reports that Greg Dulcich is taking over. Or I'm sorry, not taking over, but we have reports from the staff in Denver saying that they want him to be the guy over Albert Okwuegbunam. Are you buying into that at all, or is that just empty preseason talk?
Yeah, I haven't really drafted him at all. So I think I'd rather go and like Trey McBride and just play on like Ertz is old and McBride's going to take over at some point. But the name I like the most probably in this list is probably like Tyler Conklin. Like he's a guy I've been buying in on. Yeah, him and Mo Alley Cox. Like Taysom Hill, like I get people want him, but he probably is a smart play right now too. So
yeah, we'll throw Taysom Hill in the
they're all kind of garbage in the same. So whatever. Like it doesn't really matter, I don't think.
I think the main reason the only reason I didn't queue Taysom Hill up is because of the week 14 bye. But like you said, it really doesn't matter that much. You might be leaving a few points on the table at the end of the season, but there's going to be other people that have buys not matching up that are still going to be taking zeros at the tight end position. So that's just kind of the way it is, especially when you're waiting here.
And by that time in the season, there's probably only one of those 3 tight ends that will still be left standing anyway. So
that's a great point as well. So I think Jonnu Smith, considering that we've already got Mac Jones and Jacoby Meyers is the guy that we want here, but it's getting gross at this point. We're betting on rookie tight ends to hit as our tight end 3.
Yeah, I don't think I've ever drafted a Logan Thomas team, so thanks for my first there.
There you go. And he was somebody that I was drafting a little bit as like an 18th round pick. But like I said, with him being activated off pup and at practice right now, I mean, let's take a look. Because like I said, it was just 2 years ago that he was putting up great production. I can't remember exactly what the numbers were off the top of my head. Maybe I'm misremembering a bit. 670 yards and 6 touchdowns and 110 targets. That's nice production from a tight end, especially if you're getting him that late. And the thing with Logan Thomas too, if you remember, he was a quarterback in college, so he's still very new to the tight end position. He just started playing tight end a few years ago, and you know, there haven't been a ton of additions to Washington. You know, it was him competing with Terry McLaurin a couple of years ago. The only addition really now is Jahan Dotson, and then you got Carson Wentz, who has a historic penchant for targeting his tight ends pretty heavily.
Yeah, no, I think he probably is a guy I need to put more on my radar. So I know Chess Liam's been on him before, and I've had conversations with him. It's like, hey, why are you drafting Logan Thomas? And it's like, yeah, but now that if he's back at practice, like that, yeah, okay, I'll buy back in on that.
And not a guy that I'm targeting super heavily, but figured with that good news coming out, why not? So yeah, we'll see. We're a few picks out from this one. I like the way this team worked out, though. I would have liked Matt Ryan for the Nahim Heinz stack, but not the end of the world there. Running backs are a little bit gross, but, what if Elijah Mitchell is the same Elijah Mitchell from last year? What if Nick Chubb goes down with an injury? What if Kareem Hunt gets hurt? I mean, all of these guys have upside to really work themselves into much larger workloads. So let's go ahead and take a look at this final team here. Oop, that's not what I wanted. Overall, how are you feeling about this one? I like the way it turned out. I mean, like I said, we went a little off script with the Tom Brady pick, but just couldn't really pass up on that value. What are the picks that jump out to you here that you think maybe you regret a little bit that we could have gone back on possibly?
I mean, you probably could have went different at Godwin, but I don't know where you could have went there. Maybe a double tap, or maybe go running back there.
But if you look, I mean, the best running back available at that point,
it really wasn't.
David Montgomery.
I think maybe maybe we should have went Pitts on this team, and that would have felt a little bit more balanced and a little bit better, and would have gave you some upside. So maybe Pitts was the play there, instead of either Evans or Brown.
Yeah, and I think what happened is, we had the mindset that we really wanted to commit to the running backs and wide receivers early. We kind of, by round 8, we threw that out the window a little bit. But yeah, Pitts is a guy that almost feels like you got to reach for him now because with Mark Andrews sliding, Pitts going upwards, I think that we're going to see those guys pretty consistently going at the 2-3 turn for the rest of the offseason.
Yeah, no, I like I'm fine with our quarterback room. It's like nothing too flashy. I mean, Brady's fine and great, and you're hoping he tosses 4 touchdowns, but you don't have like those running quarterbacks, anything like that. Mac Jones and Baker are what they are, just late kind of fill-ins. We have some stacks with them, so that's why they work. But obviously, it's just tight end. Maybe like Myers, and where we went with Myers there, and KJ Osborne could have went like filled out tight end there or something like that. But yeah, it's all like could have, but like it's not. I think we built a pretty balanced team in the end, even with lack of tight end.
I like this one. I think this is one of the few that we'll get to share on Twitter and not get shredded for. I think overall people will like this build. 2 things that jump out to me on this board, though. Hold on, I just lost them. Here. Isaiah McKenzie, Romeo Doubs going in the 11th round. Do you think that might be a little bit of an overreaction? I mean, those guys went back-to-back at 11:07 and 11:08. These guys have been garnering a ton of hype out of camp, but, we're 2-3 weeks ago, these guys were going in the 18th round. Do you think this could be a little bit of an overreaction, or is that where they should be going?
I think that's when I said I like Christian Watson, is because of that, the big split of where Christian Watson goes compared to Romeo. So that's why I'm in on Watson, out on Romeo. So as far as McKenzie, I think he's fine. Like, did that guy have Josh Allen, and why did he take him? I don't know. Why would you take him in the 11th round?
Nope.
No.
Yeah, he's got Burrow, but yeah, man, McKenzie and Dubs, these guys have been flying up draft boards. And like you said, I mean, it's kind of wild to see Romeo Dubs, who was, correct me, I can't remember off the top of my head. Was he a fourth, fifth round pick, or was he a sixth round? I know he was much later. I mean, the team traded up for Christian Watson in the second round, and because he hasn't been able to practice with an injury, he's going
Mhm.
almost 2 full rounds later than Dubs. It's kind of wild to see. We talk about sticking to our priors, not overreacting to preseason, and then here we are 2 weeks away from the season, and we got crazy stuff like that happening. But that's the game we play.
Yeah, I think that's what you do. You just flip flop, and you get these guys when you can at decent value. If you miss out on them, you either pay the price for them now, or you just kind of hold off. So that's kind of how I attack those kind of situations.
Yeah. Well, before we sign off here, any parting words for the audience, James? Any advice you'd like to give people before they fully immerse themselves into the final 2 weeks of best ball season?
Yeah, it's crazy to think that there's only a few. Yeah, how many more days left of drafting?
I was looking at it 2 weeks from Thursday. We're gonna have real live regular season football. It'll be here before we know it.
And I'm actually pretty excited to just kind of put an end to drafting, to be honest, and just kind of. But the thing is, I know there's going to be week 2 contests, best ball contests, and I'm going to be back in those. So I don't know. I think it just
in the lobbies. Do you do a lot of the in season, like I was doing some of those last year, and maybe it was just beginner's luck. Last year was the first time I was doing it, but the in season, like the weekly best ball tournaments, I was crushing those last year.
Oh yeah, those are good. Especially football guys. We have the rest of season rankings that come out, and you actually just use those rankings for any of the like week 2, week 3 best ball. Like you're in pretty good shape. So that's kind of a cheat code.
Well, we will definitely be doing some of those once the season rolls around. But yeah, we got this week, next week, and then the following week we'll squeeze in one last one on Tuesday, 2 days before kickoff. But that's it. We got 2 more shows in the off season, and then it is time for football. So want to remind anybody that's watching the show, if you haven't already, be sure to subscribe to the YouTube page. It's youtube.com/footballguys. You can follow James on Twitter at James Brimacombe. You can follow me on Twitter at Dave Kluge. And that'll be it. We will catch you guys next week. Thank you so much for tuning in.